All right, everyone. My name is Roger. This is Braulio. This is Nora and Olivia. Today we are going to be talking about communication with your instructors. I think if you're a new student at Virginia Western, I think this is very important. Whether you go to Virginia Western or you go to a university, I think it's important to know about communications with your instructors. I mainly want to talk about a few things, checking your school email, talking to your instructor if you have any trouble, making sure technical difficulties aren't something that ruins your grade during this time, and talking to your advisors if you do feel a lack of communication between you and your instructor. I want you to make sure that you keep up with your grades. I'm going to talk a little bit about Canvas, and we're going to talk about writing your professor an email. So first thing, constantly checking your school email. It's very important that you check your school email every day. I've had to learn this the hard way multiple times. Even as far as this week, I've had to learn this lesson, but you want to make sure that's a habit that you check your school email. I mean, any of you guys got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important to be doing that, not just your school Virginia Western email account that's connected to Gmail, but also your Canvas inbox that kind of functions like email. Your professor will contact you through that medium as well as your Gmail account, so that's really important. Also, Western will notify you about things pertaining to financial aid, for instance, or like holds that they might have on your account, like your student account. They'll contact you through Western, and you want to be on top of that as much as possible because it's really important, and it could mess with the money that you're receiving if that's applicable to you. If you don't do certain things with your account, it might drop you from some classes from the semester. So it's definitely important to be staying on top of that, not only so you're on top of your classes, but you're also on top of just your education in general.
Yeah. I need to check my SIS today, actually. But yeah, you want to check your school email constantly. It's very important that you do that. Canvas is a big tool. During the year, you might find yourself checking your email less and less because you have Canvas. You need to make sure you stay checking the email that you have, because I've seen teachers constantly go, "Oh, you checked Canvas, but you didn't check your email," and the whole class will be like, "But it should have been on Canvas." No, you gotta check your email, because these teachers they won't care when it comes to it. But as long as you check your email, you check your Canvas, and as we'll continue to talk about, you communicate with your instructor, you should be fine.
Yeah, and as well as that, Virginia Western, they'll contact you through your email also to tell you about social events that are going on with the campus and other facilities, what kind of events that they're holding, updates about the library, if they're doing something fun or if they're closed for cleaning. Same goes for the tutoring center in case there are any important notifications or telling you about their hours. Student activities, what they're holding. A lot of the times, this might not be as much of the case with COVID, but in the past they would hold movie showings. You hear about the a cappella group and their performances. So all of these fun things that are going on campus to help foster community, that kind of stuff. They tell you about that through your email too, and that's stuff you definitely want to be hearing about. You want to be able to reach out and make connections with people, and being on top of your email and hearing about those events that are going on campus is a really great way to do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to add on to what you guys have said, and is comes when the for you guys that have the smartphones, you guys can download the app, the Canvas app, and the Gmail app, and for those, I mean, sometimes are not like on their laptops, on their desktops. It's very easy for you guys to get a notification. You just need to go ahead and activate the notification icon, and you'll get all the notification that your instructor has posted. Sometimes, I mean, like instructor just might think something, all of a sudden they have an emergency, whatever it is, and they just go and post a notification. So you need to be able to read it and then update with those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something I didn't think of saying, but yeah, you definitely want to turn on notifications. It'll make your life a lot easier. When I first started, I didn't have so many emails linked to my phone, so it was easier to see what was happening. But when you first start and you have that one school email and you get emails, it's really easy to get your notifications. Your phone will remind you to check your email because you will have a lot coming in.
Yeah, and there's a help center, so if you need help setting your email up to your phone, that's always there. I forgot about that. I should have did that sooner. So
And not too long, your phone will be filled with notifications from your professor and Canvas, all of that. Yeah.
So, that should be about it about checking your school email. I'm pretty sure with the rest we're going to talk about, that might come up some more, but I mean, there's not much more to know. You'll learn. Next thing is like you should talk to your instructor if you're having any trouble with your course. Especially with the type of classes we have. Most of them are virtual. You don't get to see your professor, so it's important that you communicate with them through email, or you tell them during the virtual class that you want to talk to them after. You just want to make sure you're talking to your instructors if you have any trouble, because it's not going to be as easy to get a hold of your instructor. They have virtual office hours and stuff. I almost forgot about that. But, you want to make sure you stay on top of that, because you're not going to always see them. You're not going to always know where to find them. Besides, anything to add on that?
Some professors are more tech savvy than others, so don't think it's your fault if you're struggling to see an announcement or a grade post or just an entire module that they'll tell you is posted and it's on Canvas and you need to complete it by a certain date and then you don't see it. Like, don't blame yourself for that. They're humans too, so they're learning how to do this just like we are. We are all going through this together right now with coronavirus and having to adjust to online learning. Some professors they're completely new to this. So don't be so hard on yourself if you're struggling to find something. Don't be afraid to send them an email and be like, hey, I didn't see this module or this assignment posted. Where is it located? Where can I find it? Because I've had conversations like that with my instructors and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't post it. So yeah, don't be afraid to contact them and ask questions pertaining to that, because they're learning with you. It's all a process.
Right.
That's a really good point, because the last semester I had an instructor that wasn't very respondent to email, so it was really hard to get in touch with him and knowing what I was doing right and wrong. So you really want to make sure that you have communication with your instructor, definitely.
Yeah.
Also,
Go ahead.
don't look at your professor as somebody that you don't know. Look at your professor as a friend, because they are there to help. You go make sure that they know you, that they know that you're in their class, that you're doing your job. Ask questions. They love when you ask questions, and don't forget that there's all questions might be important. There's something that you sometimes just because you were not thinking about anything and you just don't get it. go after class, ask, email them, get to know them as well as they get to know you. I mean, sometimes you are in class when there are 35 students, 40 students, and it's really hard for them to get to know everybody in the class. But if you make sure that they know you by asking questions, by going to office hours, by being close to them, it's gonna be a fact, guys, that you're gonna have success on your class.
Right. And that was the next point. Make sure technical difficulties aren't affecting your class experience or your grades in class. Like Nora said, they're learning with you and so some teachers are more tech savvy than others. So you want to stay on top of your grades, make sure they're not affecting your grades. I was talking about this before we started recording. I had a grade on a project that ended up being a 32 or something, and I emailed my professor and everything, and it just ended up being a big misunderstanding because I knew that grade that wasn't a 32. I worked hard on it, and so I emailed him. He told me what was wrong with it, and I emailed him again. He said, yeah, there's still something wrong with it. So, and this goes into our next point. I went to an advisor, in which I'm saying, if your communication isn't that good with your professor, no matter what you try, talk to an advisor, whether it's the advisor in your program of study or you have a trio advisor or your own advisor. Talk to them when you can't communicate with your professors. I ended up getting, I believe it was over a 106 with some bonus points on it. So you want to make sure that you are on top of communication. Don't doubt yourself. For one, I started to doubt myself. I was like, maybe that was a bad project. Maybe it needed a little bit more substance and a lot less glare, but no, it had the perfect amount of glare and substance in it. But that's a main thing. You want to make sure you're communicating with your professor, and if you can't communicate with your professor, talk to someone else, and maybe they can talk to that professor for you. Or if you can't find an advisor, talk to another teacher. Maybe, like Braulio said, these professors can be your friends, and if one knows the other, they can talk to them for you. And that's pretty much it. Anything y'all have to add about those points?
No, I think you kind of knocked it out of the park right there.
Right. And so, if there's a lack of communication with your instructors, there's another thing that's a big thing with communication with instructors. You want to make sure you keep up with your grades. And this might be mixing another 2 points I had up. It's a good thing, but you want to make sure that you keep up with your grades. You're checking Canvas. You don't rely on Canvas too much, but you're checking Canvas to make sure that those grades are in. And if they're in, that's your grade. Sometimes the teachers might have to add extra credit, but most of the time that's your grade. You're on Canvas. You know what your grade is. And if you have a bad grade in there and you know that there's a lot of papers, you stay on top of your professor about that. You ask them, when those could come out, what they think you're going to get or what you should be getting. Because Canvas doesn't have all your grades on it. Some teachers record your grades separately from Canvas and then put them into Canvas later. So you want to make sure that you're on top of that you keep up with your grades. You rely on Canvas, you just don't rely on it too much. Like I said, still check your email. Canvas is really convenient, it's really nice, and sometimes you get sucked into that and you're like, oh yeah, this is the school. No, that's not the school. You want your email, you communicate with them on Zoom, you go to the office hours that they have posted. It's important that you do all of that. Because if you don't keep up with your grades, you know, something might blindside you. You don't want that. It shouldn't, but sometimes it will. So you want to make sure that, you know, it's your responsibility to keep on checking it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have anything else?
Yeah, I remember when, I don't know if this was the case for everyone, but when I was in high school, I remember the teachers would call us up one by one to tell us what our individual grades were. That's no longer the case. Obviously, they're not going to email you and say, hey, this is the grade that you have right now. They're not going to do that in the middle of lecture or lab or whatever.
Right.
You have to seek that out for yourself. You have to communicate with the professor yourself. Like Roger pointed out, sometimes the professors will grade things separately. If you're a science major or just taking any science classes in general, in my experience, professors would record the test grades separate from the lab grades, and then they would combine that into one grade at the end of the semester, which might sound confusing now, but once you're in the middle of it, you'll understand what I mean. So yeah, like he was saying, don't rely on just Canvas to tell you what your grade is in a class, because there are technicalities regarding that, and you will have to seek out the instructor and ask them yourself, which they will be happy to do.
Right.
I remember also one of my ETR professors. He said that he valued more the effort that each student put into the class rather than a test. So sometimes you might do just bad test and get a C or get an F. But if you just kind of demonstrate that you're working hard, that you put enough effort to do well on the class, at the end of the way, that's what they will value. They will value the effort that you put into the class, and they're going from there. So, as
Yeah.
I said, you guys just try to do your best on your class.
That's a really good point. Really good.
The effort you put into something says a lot more, I think, than the actual endpoint.
Right? Absolutely right.
Yeah, that's another thing. If teachers see that you're working hard or the whole class is working hard, they'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. If you fall down, just get back up. You know, it's just don't stress. And with that said, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's one thing you should know. You should learn how to write an email to your professor. There's a specific etiquette that you have to use when writing your professor an email. You have to make sure you address them as, you know, let's say, you know, Mr. Smith. He has a PhD. He's a doctor. You call him Dr. Smith. You know, dear Dr. Smith. Make sure your grammar is correct. Make sure everything is good. Don't abbreviate words. Don't tell him, oh man, you'll never. Don't send him pointless emails. Don't say, oh, hey Smith, you know, IDK where you were today. LOL. The substitute was pretty bad, but you know, hit me up when you get the chance. Don't do that. But you want to make sure that you say something like, hey, Dr. Smith, is there anything I missed in class today? I was out. You know, you make sure you explain yourself, make sure you're respectful. Don't talk to him. We said your professors are your friends, but don't hit them casually like they're your best friend or anything. And you should be fine. Just anything important, because I could have skipped over a lot. There's a lot to writing your professor an email, but anything you guys would say about writing an email to your
Just remember that you are one face in a sea of at least like 100 to 200 students that they have per semester. So definitely make sure to identify who you are, which section you are in, which specific class you are taking, because sometimes professors will be teaching chemistry 111 and they'll be teaching organic chemistry in the same semester, and those are two very different classes. So make sure you tell them which one you're in and then proceed to ask your question. And also, everyone is assigned an EMPL ID. All students at Western are assigned one. So make sure to put that into your email, because I was told this when I went to my orientation. I think it's something along the lines of, if you're communicating with them, they have to log it, or they have to look you up or something. So put in your EMPL ID in your signature, or maybe in the subject line, whatever you would prefer, just to make their lives easier.
Right. And so with that, is there anything else about writing an email that you guys think would be important? Because, I mean, like I said, a lot goes into it. I'm sure your professor, if you have SDV, will show you this video. I've watched 100 times. It's sort of funny. So you will 100% see that. If you're just coming into to Virginia Western, you will 100% learn how to write an email to your professor. And there are lots of resources you could access to learn that. It's not rocket science. You won't nothing bad will happen to you if you're a little wrong, but it's still a good thing to learn how to write your professor an email. Yeah, that's something to say. Nah. Okay, so that's pretty much it. If there's anything else you guys think that one should learn if they're just entering their first year at Western, or they, you know.
I mean, like, do we have any closing remarks or?
Closing remarks, words of encouragement for new students coming in a Western during this time, especially, you know, I would need some encouragement definitely from, you know, from any kind of school I had before to this brand new way. But any kind of closing remarks?
I would just say that, especially now, since we are all, for the most part, forced to online learning, it's going to be a lot easier, that I think, than it normally would be, to just blend in and never talk to your professors or really anyone in your classes. But I would encourage you to definitely do that, because your professors are not only a resource for the material that you're learning, but also if you intend on transferring to a 4-year or applying to any research opportunities or internships, you're going to want to seek out your professors for recommendations. I also have had professors who I've used for writing applications to certain educational opportunities, who have helped me in the structuring of those essays, fine-tuning little things here and there. And I was accepted to those things, and I really do owe a lot to my professors for helping me with that. So don't just see them as
just a teacher who's telling you how to, you know, do calculus or write a proper essay. They can then help you in so many ways. You just have to put forth that effort to form that relationship to where they can do that for you.
All right. Yep. That's pretty much what I was gonna say. This is, you know, it's very important to communicate with your instructor. I hope that anyone watching this, I hope that you have learned a lot from this. That's pretty much it. This has been me, Olivia, Nora, and Braulio, and that's pretty much all we had to say. We're ambassadors. If you do find a way to communicate with me, you know, I'm always there. Everyone else here is always there to help you. If you see us around campus for whatever reason we're on campus, don't hesitate to come talk. If you have any questions, we will be happy to help you. That's pretty much it. I guess we're signing off.
good luck.
Good luck.
Luck, guys.
See ya.